let the off-season speculation begin, but as always, we urge ourselves to try to do this responsibly. Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, home of the Dallas Cowboys, where there are big decisions to be made. Stephen Jones, Cowboys COO, said the other day that this actual roster that we just saw that they're so proud of, obviously it won't stay together completely. Our colleague Brian Broaddus suggested that this is why Amari Cooper and Zeke were so sad in the postgame after the loss to San Francisco. Now, I might counter by saying, well, one of the reasons they were sad in the postgame is because they just got their ass kicked. I don't know that Ezekiel Elliott, in the immediacy of the postgame locker room, is really thinking about, oh, I wonder if Amari Cooper's going to be here next year. I suppose Amari Cooper's thinking about it, and in fact, he was asked about it. I don't make those decisions, said Cooper. I honestly don't know, but hopefully. So we've got the speculation already, national speculation headlines, Amari Cooper's, quote, gone. And I understand the speculation because I understand the unhappiness with what happened. Dallas's upset loss at the hands of the 49ers, in which Amari Cooper, by the way, might have been one of the only guys that actually did anything with his 6 catches and his touchdown. And now social media, such as it is, suddenly abuzz with speculation about the Cowboys' future of Amari Cooper. Broaddus, this team will be nothing like you saw in 2021. My friend Bobby Belt, I feel like Amari Cooper's gone. But then Bobby also writes, that's just a sense I get. Nobody's told me that. And that's okay, but, and I say this with all due respect to my friends in the media, we probably ought to ask somebody. It's fun to speculate. It's not always fair to speculate, but it's fun to speculate. And obviously, in the case of the 2 colleagues that I'm talking about here, their speculation, if that's what it ever is always educated speculation. And nobody's trying to throw anybody under the bus, and nobody's trying to headline grab, and nobody's trying to clickbait. These are educated guesses. How about that? But the fact is, the Cowboys have not finalized their decision on Amari Cooper. Haven't even come close to finalizing their decision on Amari Cooper. As we speak, the Cowboys are conducting meetings inside the building trying to figure all this out. There are roster talent ramifications, and there are salary cap ramifications. The front office is meeting to try to find out how to marry those 2 puzzles. One of the reasons we can't be certain of Amari's fate is that Amari's not certain of Amari's fate. And, he would probably know. Quote from Amari again, I don't make those decisions. I honestly don't know, but hopefully. Amari Cooper is a Pro Bowl perennial. In this game that ends the Cowboys season, the playoff loss to the 49ers, 6 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Not particularly the problem in this game. During the season, I would say a rather disappointing collection of numbers, relatively, especially when we all talked about they're going to go 1,000 times 3 at wide receiver. All these things more difficult to do once the season starts than they seem like in August, right? 865 receiving yards, not quite 1,000. 8 touchdowns, not a problem there. 68 catches. And these numbers fly in the face of Amari, who has talked very openly about, I think I'm the best receiver in the league. I just need to prove it. Those numbers don't prove that. Those numbers prove how good he is. They don't prove how great he is. If we're simply judging those numbers against his salary, there is a value issue. And I do think that's what Brian is reflecting on, and I do think that's what Bobby is reflecting on, and we can reflect on it too. But there are some other things worth noting here. Exclusive. Amari Cooper, 28, just bought a $6 million home in North Texas. That would be a suggestion that he's forecasting remaining here, or at least retiring here. He does have a 5-year, $100 million pact that puts him under contract with Dallas through 2024. Of course, as we discussed when he first signed that deal, and we broke this down in great detail with the help of the sharp pencil guys inside the building, it has escape hatches. This deal is scheduled to count $22 million against the cap in the upcoming season, but it's escapable. $20 million salary, base salary, becomes fully guaranteed if rostered on the 5th day of the 2022 league year, but you can move him after June 1st, if we're understanding this correctly, with only $2 million worth of dead money, giving you almost $20 million worth of space. You could also part with Amari Cooper before June 1st. That would free up $16 million, dead money of $6 million. By the way, some media outlets are interpreting our word moved to mean traded. It seems more likely that moved means released, because I'm not sure how many teams in the NFL want to take on, using the same logic that says the Cowboys might say goodbye. Well, really had 68 catches for 800 yards? I'll trade for him and give him $22 million. Here's a first-round draft pick. Probably not. So moved probably means released. As always, Dallas is up against it, salary cap-wise. We should point out that, as always, Dallas will get under the salary cap because it's the law. All teams do. Dallas will as well. But there'll be some juggling to get there. Room of 16 to 20 million from Amari would be valuable. But, and this is why it's more complex than just say, that's too expensive, get him out of here. If Cooper's gone, won't the Cowboys need to buy a wide receiver to replace him? CeeDee Lamb's in place under contract. But fellow starter Michael Gallup headed for unrestricted free agency and rehab. Cedric Wilson, also a free agent. So you're gonna promote Malik Turner and Simi Fehoko, and we're good? I bet you're not. So Broadus' assertion that this team will be nothing like you saw in 2021, I'm sure he would admit, is obviously hyperbolic. It'll be a lot like it was in 2021. In fact, it's likely that we're looking at a turnover of 60 to 70% of the roster, maximum. And there's a lot of guys, what do they have, 13 or so people who are free. I'm not very good at math, but if you lose 13 guys off a 53-man roster, let's count injury guys, off a 63-man roster. If you lose 13 guys off a 63-man roster, that means that 50 guys are staying. And if 50 guys are staying, the team will be a lot like what you saw last year, because 50 guys are staying. We can talk about, and will, changes in the offensive line. It wasn't good enough. What do you do, if not with Ezekiel Elliott's contract, what do you do with his role? There's a bunch of guys on defense who came here and did one-year deals to try to rebuild their careers. They successfully rebuilt their careers. Do you keep all those guys? But out of the Cowboys are going to keep 50 of the 63 guys, or 48 of the 63 guys. The roster will look similar to this year's roster. But there are expensive pieces, Zeke included, that did not completely pay off for the Cowboys in the end as it relates to 2021. And so now you've got decisions that are not finalized, decisions that will be Steven and the salary cap, sharpened pencil guys involved, decisions that involve Will McClay and the scouting department, which is, how do you replace him if you say goodbye to him? Decisions that include Mike McCarthy, who, by the way, is also staying, definitely, I think, absolutely, says Steven, and the coaching staff evaluating Amari Cooper, what he did and what he can do, and is some of the reasons that his numbers were fairly modest the result of the coaching staff and not anything that Amari particularly did wrong. It's worth noting that Cooper, during his time in Dallas, has often been plagued by nagging injuries that don't allow him to practice on Wednesday and Thursday, and then he goes out on Sunday and plays very well. Didn't really have that issue this year. Whatever other issues there were, the coaching staff throws its 2 cents in. So you've got front office ownership with its contribution. You got the scouting department with its contribution. You have the coaching staff with its contribution. Then they all put their heads together and decide what the best thing to do is. Amari Cooper thinks the best thing to do is to have him stay here. What's pending is a 2022 decision about whether Amari Cooper at 20 million plus is going to pay off. Thank you for subscribing to what we do here, Straight Dope, No Bullsh. As you'll notice, while there is plenty of room for hype, we tend to want to put it in its proper frame. And we hope we've done that for you here on the subject of Amari Cooper being gone in 2022. Fish out.